Hello everybody, I'm Chris Bargle and welcome back to another episode of Chris Bargle's Album Club. Today, as usual, we will be doing two albums randomly picked from a list of submissions by each one of us. And we're going to give our initial thoughts on them, we'll go listen to them, and then we'll be back to give our thoughts on them having listened to them. So today with me I have Ben.
Isn't it a pity?
Matthew.
All things must pass.
And Van.
Happy Thanksgiving, pilgrims.
Yes, and for those of you who don't understand, we are filming this episode on Thanksgiving. I have no clue when this will come out, probably in like the middle of summer or something, but I don't really know because I haven't counted. But this is Thanksgiving Day for us. I actually have the parade open in another tab I'm watching, so a little weird there. We have a good work ethic over here at the Album Club. So yeah, you all ready to hear what today's albums are?
Sure.
Mayhaps.
Alright, well, Matthew sounds more enthused than Ben. But anyways, today's albums are Behaviour by the Pet Shop Boys and Hot Bottled Soul by Isaac Hayes. Very strange matchup here. We're going with initial impressions and we're starting with you, Ben.
Have we not done the Pet Shop Boys before on this?
On the Album Club, no.
Yeah, I know, but that's weird. Because it feels like we have.
No, we haven't.
But yes, I know we haven't. This is a Pet Shop Boys album. That I have not listened to. So I don't know much to say about that. I also have not listened to the Isaac Hayes album. I have heard plenty of songs by the Pet Shop Boys in the past. And some songs by Isaac Hayes in the past, but fewer with the Pet Shop Boys. But I look forward to listening to both of them. This is very early Isaac Hayes. Looks like. Looks like there's a version of Walk On By that is 12 minutes long, and a version of By the Time I Get to Phoenix, the Glenn Campbell song by Jimmy Webb, let's note, that is 18 minutes long. Okay, this is gonna be. This album's either gonna be really good or really terrible, and I can't tell which. So, those are very bold decisions on the track listing of these albums, with massive, long covers of 260s, R&B / pop in the first case, and then R&B, I mean not R&B, pop / country in the second case songs. So, no one knows what he's gonna do with that. But as he says, it's hot bottom soul, so I hope it's a good soul.
Matthew.
I have heard of one Isaac Hayes song in my life. It is, of course, the Shaft song. So, other than that, I have not been acquainted with Isaac Hayes, but I'm looking forward to that record. On the other one, I think it is Pet Shop Boys. I think I've heard one Pet Shop Boys, but I'm gonna listen to it and see how I feel about it.
Fan.
Well, I don't know much about the Pet Shop Boys. I think they had a song in DDR. So, that's fun. That is kind of the DDR genre. So, maybe it's just like that. I don't know. Isaac Hayes, I'm more familiar with. Used to listen to it with my buddy. I don't think I've ever heard this album. I think I'm looking at the track list. I've heard songs from it. But this is psychedelic progressive soul, according to Wikipedia, so I'm very, very excited to listen to it. It should be fun, of course. Isaac Hayes, famous for being Chef from South Park. Not that I'm the biggest South Park fan, but obviously should be noted in any
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
review, because that's like what people our age would be most familiar with it for. So I had to look it up. But I'm very excited.
Oh, well, as for me, I don't watch South Park, so I was kind of aware he was on it, but I had no clue what like his character does or anything, or did. So no clue there. But as for the rest of this, I'm more familiar with the Pet Shop Boys. I've listened to the first two albums. I don't think I've listened to this one, but I know several songs off of it. Maybe I have listened to this one. I'm just not sure right off the back of my hand, but I do know some of the songs, especially "Being Boring" and "Jealousy" from this album, "Behaviour" very well, and I'm generally a very. I really like the Pet Shop Boys just generally as a band overall. They have some of all time great singles of the '80s and '90s. Especially '80s, but also early '90s. As for Hot Bottled Soul, I have listened to this album before. It's pretty weird from what I remember, but it's been a hot sec, so I don't really remember having much feeling towards it either way, but I'll give it another go and see what my thoughts are. So that's about it. Really don't know which way I'm going on this one. I mean, I'm more familiar with the Pet Shop Boys discography as a whole than Isaac Hayes, but just as I said, I don't think I've listened. I don't think to this Pet Shop Boys album all the way through. Alright, well that's it for our initial thoughts. We're going to go listen to these albums and we will be right back with our thoughts on them. Alright, we are back and have listened to the albums. Well, as I said earlier, the first album was Behaviour by the Pet Shop Boys. And Ben, we are going to be starting with you. What were your thoughts on this album?
I thought this album was, as I usually say, pretty good. I think that it's kind of just the typical Pet Shop Boys sound of kind of synth pop that they're famous for. If you've followed the Pet Shop Boys before, it's not like anything shocking in here. Other than maybe the length of a couple of the songs, they are a little tiny bit long, but that makes sense for this kind of dance. I mean, it's not dance music, but it is more danceable than other things. It's relatively.
They usually had longer kind of dance sort of length tracks on the albums. It's just the singles were usually kind of cut down.
Yeah, I mean that's just how singles are. I thought the song "Being Boring," the opening track, the opening track and a single was pretty good. This must be the place I waited years to leave the next track to us. That was pretty good. That's kind of a funny sentiment. And then I thought the last three tracks, oddly enough, not the lead single so hard, which is okay, but I thought the last three tracks, Nervously, The End of the World, and Jealousy, I thought those were probably the best stretch of this album. But altogether, this album was, as I said, good, but it wasn't anything to like write home about. The old Battle Pet Shop Boys songs than on this album. None of the songs on this album I would consider to be like their best work. It doesn't mean that the album was bad though.
Alright, we're moving on to Matthew.
I thought this album was okay. I thought like it's not a bad record. I think it's a pleasant wasn't album to listen to. I think most of the songs are like good to pretty like solid to good. Like I wouldn't say any of these songs are like an above an 8 out of 10 essentially or a 7 out of 10. I think my favorite is probably the To Face the Truth. I think the songs that I mentioned were also like pretty solid. Wouldn't say this is an album I'd write home about or like makes me want to listen to more Pet Sound Boys. But yeah, it's a solid album.
Fan.
So I thought this album was interesting. Um, I thought it was okay. You know, it's probably not something I'm gonna really visit, but uh, there was some cool things going on. You know, I felt like this was a very cold album. You know, this isn't like warm, kind of fuzzy synth music. This is very kind of cold, nihilistic synth music in some regards, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a cool thing. That's probably what I liked about it the most was that kind of isolating sound you got from the synths. Um, Musically, I thought it was solid. There was some good stuff going on. Um, Once again, probably not gonna really come back to it, but there was nothing necessarily bad about it.
All right. Well, as for me, as I said, I was already kind of familiar with this album. I've listened to it a couple more times now. Yeah, it doesn't have any of the band's big hits, any of the Pet Shop Boys' bigger hits, singles, but this is kind of more of a, I don't know, less bombastic, a bit more low-key, I guess, affair, we would say. A bit more serious in some ways, although they have had plenty of songs that are of a serious subject matter on their previous albums as well, but this one's very... It's not to say it's completely serious, but it's a lot more kind of thoughtful, I guess, in a way. I will say, though, that Being Boring and Jealousy or highlight tracks, also just in the Pet Shop Boys' kind of discography as a whole. Yeah, they're not their absolute best songs. I personally am over partial to Suburbia, but that's not on here. But they all still, I would say, highlights by the band. Also, some of these other songs, I'd say, were quite well. I mean, I'd say most or all of the songs on here are good. But other really good ones, This Must Be a Place I Read Used to Leave, Mark Twain Symphony, obviously, So Hard, just really good lineup here. It's a little more, I don't know, dense and insular than the 80s stuff, I guess. But it's, I don't know, it's a very interesting kind of sound they went for on this one, and kind of a vibe, and I don't know exactly fully how to explain it here just off the top of my head without really having typed anything out, speaking off the cuff, but it's a very good album, in my opinion. Alright, moving on. The next album was Hot Bottled Soul by Isaac Hayes. And we're moving on back to you, Ben. What were your thoughts on this album?
Damn, the title of this album was not lying. This album was actually really good. It was, in fact, very... By the way, it's probably not actually the right way to say it, even if that's what Isaac Hayes is invoking here. But a very rich soul sound. Even his way lengthy covers of Walk On By and By the Time I Get to Phoenix, I thought were really good. And the two other tracks, Hypo, not gonna pronounce that, and then One Woman, I thought those also sounded really good. I thought, in particular, the cover of Walk On By was the best part. Well, I would say altogether side one was better than side two. I think that I could see people saying that they didn't like how he treated By the Time I Get to Phoenix, because he, of course, decides to... What is a really short song? Like, Jimmy Webb's original song, most famously covered by Glenn Campbell, is not very long. It's kind of 3 short verses, no chorus, not really even a hook. I can see people thinking, well, Isaac Hayes spends what, like 10 minutes before he actually gets to that, and then he continues on afterwards. He's doing spoken word and whatnot to try to like flesh it out. Like he's giving a very different interpretation than the original interpretation. That being said, I also really like that. Just it could have gone very poorly. Don't blame people if they don't like it, but I thought that went well. Still, I like that song. So, but I will say that the stronger side is his cover of the classic "Walk On By," which we all know, the most famous version by Dionne Warwick. But there's so many other versions of that. That's like a Motown staple. It's co-written by Bob Bacharach. And then his own song that's named "I'm Not Gonna Say." I thought that's instrumental in particular sounded really good. I look forward to hearing what other people thought about this album.
Matthew, you're next.
I really enjoyed listening to this album. This is the first Isaac Hayes album that I like listened to in full, and one that's outside of his most famous song "Shaft." I think I like how this album is structured, almost like how "Wish You Were Here" was structured. "Wish You Were Here" and "Animals" was structured, where it's like essentially almost like a symphony in a way, like has like the major parts to it. In this case, there's like 4 parts to this album. Um, I like really dug each of the 4 tracks. I think "Walk On By" is probably my favorite, or even the second track, which I will also not attempt to pronounce. But I just thought this was a really good album.
Fan.
This album was a ton of fun. This is pretty much late '60s soul personified. You listen to this and you hear that sound perfectly done on this. I think I really want to give a shout out to the Barkays, the supporting band on this record. James Alexander on bass specifically. He's just all over, like on Hyperbolic, etc. He's just going to town doing that piano solo that I'm guessing was by Isaac Hayes. And he's just cooking. I couldn't even take my hearing away from it. That was all I could listen to. Uh, Willie Hayes on drums. At the end of "Walk On By," I was kind of disappointed because it sounded like he started cooking up a really good solo, and then it cut off. And so that was actually pretty disappointing to me because I really wanted to hear what he was going to lay down there. This album's fantastic. By the time I get to Phoenix, that long 7-minute intro is just fantastic. Coming down like preaching from the God of Love himself. This is an album that it's pretty much made for 2 things. If we're gonna be honest, it's made to do drugs too, and made to have sex too. And I think this album does both fantastically. This is excellent work. Awesome album.
All right. Excuse me. As for me, I liked this album. I'm not sure I'd say I like it as much as everyone else who seemed to like it, but I did like it. It's a very solid one, very well produced, very well. Sorry, I'm still thinking about fans. Pre-prior statement right there, but very well produced, very well sung. None of the songs from like a songwriting perspective or anything on here I would say are really like must-haves to me, but they're pretty good as well. It's pretty good. I do wish maybe we had more songs on it, but it's just kind of a symptom of the length of what is on it, so that's mostly fine. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I have too much to say that like Ben and Matthew didn't already say, or Fan as well. But I do think it's good. It's solid. I'm maybe not quite as enthusiastic as everyone else here, but I did quite like the album. We had, I think, a pretty good matchup this time in terms of the overall quality of both albums. Alright, now we're moving on to which album each of us liked better. We are going to start with, as usual, you, Ben. Which album did you like better?
Hot Bottled Soul. Oh, that came out a little bit wrong. Oops. Hot Bottled Soul.
Alright. Matthew.
Hot buttered soul.
Fan.
Hot buttered soul.
Alright. And I am voting for Behaviour. Alright, well, now we're going on to who picked which album. Anyone want to guess who picked which of these albums?
Chris picked the Pet Sound Boys album.
Well, that's not exactly the right name. I mean, he's a little confused, but he got the idea, because he was right. I did pick the Pet Shop Boys album. Not to be confused with Pet Sounds. And then I also picked Hot Buttered Soul by Isaac Hayes. So I picked both these albums. Alright, well that's about it for another episode. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed what we had to say about these albums. Please be sure to like and subscribe. It helps all of us a lot. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video.